this morning, so for those of you that are joining for the first time, thank you for joining us. This is all about the arts and culture sector in Cumbria. We do this every Friday. We're on call 196 now, so the 200th call, which will be in November. I'll try and get someone special for that if I can. All ideas, all suggestions welcome. Obviously, we got Stephen Dunn this morning, so he's pretty special. But we might try and even try and out Stephen Dunn for the 200th call. So we talk about stuff. We meet people who are doing interesting things across the county and beyond sometimes tackle issues. All the calls are always recorded, so you can always watch them again the following week on our YouTube channel. And there are captions through Zoom to allow you to see words as well as listen to things as well. So that is the plan for every call that we do. And we only take a break at Christmas time, and August I usually have off as well. Otherwise, we do about sort of 40, 45 calls a year. And hopefully they're of interest. And for some reason, lots of people keep coming back, which is fantastic. And this morning is a classic example of the range of things that we talk about. So we're going to hear from Nick Greenall and Charlie Winnie, who are just having their breakfast there, or Charlie's having his breakfast there, in Bowness, who have put together an amazing exhibition that I'm going to go and see in about 2 weeks' time at the Sill. So just outside Cumbria in Northumberland on Hadrian's Wall, just off Hadrian's Wall. Beautiful visitors centre if you've never been there before. It's about a mile from Steel Rig, which is a beautiful section of Hadrian's Wall. The Sycamore Gap Tree obviously came down just over a year ago, illegally felled, and this is an artistic response, or the start of an artistic response to what's going on there. So we're going to hear about what Nick and Charlie have been doing. Also, a nice little clip from Breakfast TV that they starred in about 2 weeks ago that I'm going to play for you as well, just to set it up. Then the irrepressible, I've used that word, Stephen Dunn, with his lovely Smiths t-shirt on at the Civic Centre there in Carlisle. Lots of stuff bubbling under and over in Carlisle, part of Cumberland, of course. Steve is the creative and cultural officer, something like that there. And he's going to tell us of different projects that you may or may not be interested in getting involved in and certainly hearing about in Carlisle. And then Izzy Butcher, who joined us last week, Izzo Sew Studio. I think this is the first time we've had sewing on this call, but there's some brilliant sewing retreats coming along to the Lake District later this year, set up and organised and run by Izzy, who could probably quickly whip you together a dress or a pair of trousers or, a shirt, probably on the duration of this call. We could challenge her to do that. So we're going to hear a bit about that as well and see how that fits into the cultural picture of Cumbria. So that is the plan for this morning. Rivals, Jilly Cooper, talk about culture. Don't know if you've got Disney Plus. Just start. They've serialized Rivals, and I just read a Guardian review of it this morning. It's got 5 stars from the Guardian. So Rivals, if that was your thing in the 80s, they've made a TV series of it. Jilly Cooper. It's on Disney Plus. Look out for that for your Friday evening entertainment. You heard it here first. 5-star review in the Guardian today. Who knows? Who knows? But David Tennant is in it, interestingly. David Tennant, he's a pretty good actor, does Shakespeare, Doctor Who, all that stuff. He's in it. So it must be an interesting watch. Let's go to the Sill, or Bowness and the Sill. Let's talk to Nick and Charlie, who have pulled together this beautiful exhibition. Nick Greenall and Charlie Winnie. I'm going to play the film shortly, guys, about you being on Breakfast TV. But first of all, hello. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm Nick Greenall. My background is kind of filmmaking, I guess. I used to work, doing technical things on cinema released films, and now I live in a rural idyll and do my own thing.
I'm Charlie. I'm an artist and woodworker person, and I'm based in Witherslack, which is like in the South Lakes. And I steam bend wood and do writing, and I'm doing an MA at St Martin's at the moment in regenerative design.
Fantastic. All right, lovely stuff. And before I show the film, just tell us sort of relatively briefly how you came about to submitting and then being accepted to do this piece at the Sill.
I mean, I'd previously walked on Hadrian's Wall like lots of other people and sort of visited the tree, and it's kind of something you don't really think about till it's gone, like the Joni Mitchell song. So when it was felled, after a few months, there was a commission put out, and we responded to that, and they selected us.
Yeah. the thinking process, because to be honest, like I wasn't even slightly interested in it when I first heard about it. And then it's my friend Ted Carefoot, who I guess I bet at least one person knows him on this call. He originally sent me the brief and wanted to do something, but he wanted to do like a kind of making thing. I didn't really see the value in even like putting sculpture in that scenario. But then it was like, having sat with it for a couple of weeks, I kind of thought doing something there's a real kind of like potential. There's a power in the narrative of this tree. It's just one tree, but loads of people like really cared about it and valued it, and kind of and linked it and connected it to other things. A lot of personal memories, but also they kind of connected the destruction of that tree to the kind of wider environmental situation, the kind of unequalness of how humans live. And I thought, something, like, either we could do nothing, don't even submit it, just don't think about it, which would be a lot easier, or like Nick runs creative communities and does a lot of creative. He does a lot of, basically his job is like basically going out into the actual world and seeing people and chatting to them and doing stuff. And I thought I could do, I thought I could work with creative communities and just do a bid saying that we will try and do, like, actually have some like positive outcome, like a physical one in the actual real world. And then at least I wouldn't feel like I hadn't tried. And then they gave us the job and we had to do it.
There's always that. Oh God, I've got the commission. I've got to do it now.
Real,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. Right. Pause there, gentlemen. I'm just going to share my screen, and this is a lovely piece that was on Breakfast TV about 2 or 3 weeks ago when the piece opened, and you'll see Charlie and Nick both appear in this. So if I get my technicals right, I shall remember to put sound on, and here we go.
So let's go to Alison Freeman, who's in Hexham for us. Morning to you, Alison, and there, with your hand upon it, is part of the tree itself, yes?
Yeah, that's right, Charlie. This is it. It's sort of had a bit of a homecoming, if you like. It is the star of the show, the star of this exhibition, which is looking to change the story of the tree, as we heard there, from one of sort of sadness and despair into one of hope. Now, this exhibition features 4 panels, and each panel, when you add the length of them together, comes up to the height of the tree. And the man who's created this fantastic exhibition is Charlie Winnie. He joins me now. Charlie, tell me a little bit about the exhibition. What's this first panel all about?
Okay, so we've done the panel in the 4 seasons. So if you imagine the tree's kind of done this, and then these are all the roots, and then this is the autumn panel, where it is, so in autumn there are no leaves, but we have promises, and all the words here are by staff from the National Park. They've written all these, we put them on the work.
So these are some promises. We move over then, don't we, to autumn, which is when the tree was cut down. Tell me a little bit about this panel.
Okay, so this one here is made with, so this bit of the drawing here is this bit of tree that we have here. And it was drawn, we were using charcoal that we made from a sycamore tree that was growing just outside my workshop, and it featured in Nick's film.
Let's keep on moving around as we do. We come over now. This is spring. Tell me a bit about this one.
So this is you can kind of see the tree carrying on, the branches here in the pattern. This green painting in the middle is actually the top of the tree stump. I actually stood and drew with a piece of tracing paper around it. And all these little leaves here, I measured with a tape measure and photographed all the regrowth. There are now 25 new little shoots coming up, and the ones that fitted on this panel, I've illustrated for your delight.
Beautiful. And this is the final panel, the one you are really excited about. These leaves, they're going to be transformed today, aren't they?
They're going to be so different by the end of the day. We've got 300 kids coming in. They're going to write an oath or a promise on what can grown-ups do better. I'm worried about what they're going to say. And we've got 105 different colours of concentrated pigment, and they're going to paint them with a kaleidoscope of summer celebration and colour.
Perfect description of all of that. I'm going to move very, very quickly on. Thank you to Nick. You've kind of project managed this, haven't you? Just tell me a little bit about the movement from despair to hope. What are you hoping to gain out of this project?
Well, yeah, we're very much looking forward after the act of vandalism, which is a year ago, to what we can do in a positive way for the environment. So we're collecting people's pledges, and this is very much a start of the process. So we're giving people the opportunity to come here, make pledges towards nature, and then we're going to take them, and there's going to be a final exhibition in spring 2025. So all those people's pledges will be part of that.
Just want to ask you very quickly, look, this must have been a hugely pressured project because the eyes of the world have been on what happened here. Why did you decide to take it on as a group?
Well, we were really determined to kind of subvert the project and make it into an activism project so we could really do something positive for nature. That was why we took it on.
Great, thank you so much for joining us today, both of you. Look, this is the one that we're all going to be looking at later. It's going to be turned into a pop of colour for everybody to enjoy and hopefully to change the story of the tree.
It's beautiful, Alison, and it's great to see something so hopeful coming out of something that was so upsetting at the time. Thank you.
Time now.
Chaps, well done. It's never easy to speak quickly and concisely, and I bet you were under massive pressure to do that for that particular piece. Did she treat you well?
She would. Yeah, we didn't know it was national telly until Charlie got a text from his sister who saw him in Brighton. So we thought it was local telly, but yeah.
Oh, Alison's great. I know Alison a little bit. She's great, Alison Freeman. She lives very much close by there as well. So did it happen? So during the day, did those leaves get filled in by people?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, it was really good. I think we're on next laptop at the moment, but I'll they look really great. They're really nice. Each one of those leaves was pressed with newspaper from a real leaf, so they all had little tiny veins in, and then the process was the kids had so they'd write their text on that thing, like which included don't be selfish,
don't be greedy,
don't be
plant
greedy,
more trees.
Plant more trees. There was one just said be better, and I was like, okay.
Difficult to argue with that. And then
there was some really lovely thoughts. The age range was from, I think the youngest was 6. They went up to about maybe 12 or something, 11 or 12. And it was really it was a really it was great. It was a really nice experience. It was good.
And these are all sort of local schools to where the tree was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so after they painted their things, we painted, each leaf got painted with water, or we had a spray, like a spray thing, you spray it with water. And then we had pipettes with concentrated watercolor in, and then we had like 100 and something. There were loads of colors, and then you do little drops of pipettes onto the wet leaf, and then it kind of goes, psh, and then the color kind of went down the veins. It was quite a nice.
Yeah, it's a really nice process. So you saw in the film there, it was all blank, but now we're actually going up there today. It's all a beautiful color explosion.
And the tracing of the stump, Charlie, that was you sort of in the wild on the wall, sort of on top of the tree stump with a big piece of paper or something, was it?
Literally that. Yeah. We were having to chat to Walkers, explaining that I was allowed to be there.
And I remember other people on the call will remember this as well. And by the way, I think, Amy, if you've got the website up and you want to show some nice pictures in the exhibition, feel free to do so. I remember waking up that morning to hear the news about the destruction of the tree. And it really got to me. I mean, I've been there many times. I used to live in that part of the world in northeast Cumbria. And it really got to me about gosh, if someone thinks this is acceptable to do, and I know 2 people are on trial, I think later this year, for the act. I just kind of thought, what's the world coming to if someone thinks it's acceptable to chop down that beautiful tree there that we can see, 150 years old or whatever it is, how can that be acceptable? So I think it really was important for me personally, as much as other people as well, that something good has emerged from this. I mean, I know there's some saplings that have been taken from the seeds as well. I think 25 saplings have been created, and people can sort of bid to try and use those as well. So that particular picture there, those pictures that we're seeing, Charlie, was that quite a personal response from you as well?
Yes, but also like purposeful as well. So like my background before I was doing this, like I studied architecture, and then and by trade I'm a designer, and so I had to kind of think about what it was going to be like. In particular, like I think that seeing the tree, just seeing just the a log, I think could be quite triggering for people. I think for some people, like they're getting more ashes put on the stump than they did before the tree came down, and I think that the tree basically it's tied for a lot of people, especially local people. That particular tree in that place is really tied to like happy memories of family, and in particular family who aren't around anymore. Like and kids who have left home, like stuff like that. So I think my normal work is a lot more kind of like just crazy basically, and in this case I thought I'd try and I kind of made a pragmatic decision to make it look a bit like a grown-up art show. So I actually literally put stuff in frames and put them on the wall like pictures, which is something that I don't do very often. And we made a book, which is the book here, which is I kind of felt like a lot of people visiting are going to be like, imagine if you go there on your own and you're like and you see this log that's laid out. Is it also similar to like a body basically, and if it's related to someone who's not around?
Yeah.
And they have had a lot of people, not a lot, but they've had like when I've been there, the welcome staff at the Sill told me that people were like being in there just crying basically, and there was one guy who was in there for ages and he was just sobbing. I think he really hated my work. So we also made it, but I think reading is a really good way of getting out of yourself. So basically, as part of the work, we basically did all the research that we did, not all of it, but the kind of linear process of research that we did so far, and we're only halfway through the project now.
Yeah.
Who we basically produced it into a little paperback, like quite an unobtrusive little book, which you've got in the show as well.
Yeah.
And the idea is that people can sit down, and then they can read about what they're in. And I think reading is a really good way of like getting out of yourself and kind of seeing things from a different view and a perspective.
Yeah. I know also that Kate Fox, who's a very well-respected poet, has also done a collection about the Sycamore.
Yeah. And Nick talked to her for like 2 hours on a Zoom.
Yeah, that's her book.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
I had a chat with her, and she's doing really interesting stuff. Like Kate, we were very much looking forward to what's next. And
that's my sort of final question to you. So, what is the plan? What happens next?
I don't know.
We're going to take. Part of this project, we're taking. We did a call out for people's photographs in the exhibition. Maybe over 100 people submitted photographs. We put them on the walls, and it's like lots of lovely family shots that have now become poignant because the tree's no longer there. But we're collecting pledges, and you can. There's a form on the website, Northumberland National Park website, and also you can do it in the exhibition. And we're going to take all these pledges. So you might say, "I, Tom, will plant 10 trees a year for the rest of my life," and we're going to take these pledges and we're going to include them somehow in the final artwork.
Basically, we're now about halfway through the work. So the commission was for this 1 year round show, which is what you've just seen. And then in March next year, there's going to be that log is going to be in the same building but in a different location, where they're basically completely redoing like the big exhibition part of the Sill, if anyone's been there. And and then this work is going to be part of a new permanent thing that's going to be there forever. As part of the remit, we really want to do like a genuine community engagement, locally, and also kind of maybe further afield. Like me and Nick are spending today and tomorrow. Right after this, we've got to drive up there. We've got to be there by 12 to go and meet some people, and we're going to be chatting to people and also archiving their thoughts about how they see the tree and where they want to go with it. And also I think there are about 20 local environmental and community groups which we are consulting with as well. And the idea is that whatever goes in is like very much theirs. We want people to, if there's a way I could step back and I could make it theirs. So in March, all those people say, "Come and see my project." That would be really great.
Okay.
That's kind of how I want to do it, but I don't know the practicalities. I don't really know. The kind of methodology that we're using is very much based on the Design Justice Network. I don't know if you Google it, there are 10 principles, and it very much relates to working with communities. Like often more to do with like architectural work, but it fits. Some of it fits.
Sure.
Right. And a lot of that is to do with basically responding to what is actually there, like observing and responding, rather than just going in as an artist saying, "I know what to do" with a big cravat.
Yeah, yeah.
you know what I mean? So basically, we have put in. We got this pledges thing that Nick was mentioning, which is one way we can engage with the public and also empower them to feel like they're not helpless, they can do something. And then there are quite a few other, I won't go into all now, but there's lots of little things that we're doing in order to make it so the project it really does have its kind of roots within the local community. So
it sounds like classic co-creation to me, and
completely,
and so we're going to be in the Sill today and tomorrow, and this evening our research and public engagement will be largely pub based. So we're being Twice Brewed.
I know it well.
The Sill, yeah. So if anyone wants to join us for a pint, come down.
Okay, and I know Amy's put into chat there the links to various things. I'm just going to selfishly share an image, if I may. This is I just found this on my phone. This is my dog Hovis, who sadly isn't with us anymore. At the tree. This is about 5 years ago, and I just remember being there, and it was there was no one else around, and it just felt like a nice moment to take a picture of the dog with the tree in the background.
No, it's lovely.
It's just before we finish, can I just do a shout out, not a shout out, a call out? That's it.
If it's brief, you can.
Yeah. So we've got in our budget, we've got 15, possibly 20 days of collaboration at £200 a day. Where we want to work with writers and poets and just basically like people who they don't necessarily not necessarily makers, but people who are good at people basically. And the days will be structured where you do the morning, you immerse yourself in whatever we're doing. We want people to be part of the team, a bit like sailing a boat where everyone does a watch. Like in the morning, you just come in and whatever we're doing, you just do that too. And then in the afternoon, we want people to reflect and output whatever their thing is that they do.
Okay, and where's information about that, Charlie?
It's currently in my head. Because
I'll share. Okay, I'll share it on social media.
When we're at the Sill today, it's our meeting some of the management there, and we need to check with them that they're fine with it, but 100% they will be. And then
well, our newsletter goes to about 700 creatives across the county. Let's keep this obviously Cumbrian rather than Northumberland, but I'm not fussy. So we can help get that message out.
Cumbrian people that took the tree down. It's like a 100%.
We don't know who took the tree down yet. That's still to be decided.
Well, there's a trial. Is it the 12th of December?
Yes, December.
That should be interesting. But the tree excitingly is doing its own art projects and sort of resprouting, so that's
it's fantastic to see. Listen, Nick and Charlie, have a great day at the Sill. Nice day for it, I suspect, for you. I just think it's a really impressive project that is clearly an ongoing project as well, but I look forward to seeing it myself in about a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah.
And it's really great what you've done. So
Can I
congratulations.
interject something?
Yeah,
Can I
Sue.
interject? Rosie Thomas, who runs the Sill, is the daughter of fantastic storyteller Taffy Thomas, who lives in Cumbria. Get Taffy involved. Get Rosie to get her
We'll
down.
speak to Rosie.
Yeah. You know, Rosie still lives in Grasmere, so she's Cumbrian too.
Yeah.
We've basically we've taken ownership of the tree, haven't we? Lovely stuff. Great. Well, look, great to see you. Thanks for coming on this morning, and good luck with the rest of the project as well. And
thanks very much, guys. Take care.
Cheers. All right, lovely stuff. Nick and Charlie, busy boys, and really important project to get right as well. I think really important that has got right, that project, because it's such an important part of the landscape and how good can come out of not good things. All right. Thank you, Nick and Charlie. Let's cross to the glamorous Civic Centre in Carlisle, the HQ of Cumberland Council. I'm assuming it's the HQ, but it's certainly an important bit. And there's Mr. Stephen Dunn on a sunny day. Steve, welcome back to the call. It's been a while since I saw you, and you've grown a moustache since the last saw you. As we were commenting earlier, that for those of you that want to enjoy Steve's moustache, it's there on full view. Tell us about.
I'm trying to be more like you.
Oh, it's taken me years to get this far. When we spoke, Steve, so you came up with this amazing list of stuff that is bubbling around in your part of the world at the moment that you're largely responsible for chivvying along and making happen. So tell us what's going on, and maybe with a view to opportunities for people on the call as well.
Brilliant. Well, hiya everybody, and thanks for letting us come and speak, because there's a lot of stuff is bubbling, and the main intent is how creatively we can engage deeper with the community. So the first piece I'm going to talk about is we're doing a mass bit of yarn bombing. We started this last May as part of a new community event called Show and Tell, and the yarn bombing was just a great way to creatively engage with lots of different people. We've engaged with around 200 people who've been crocheting poppies at home. And what we're going to do, and I think we've got about 5,000, because I've been sewing them onto nets and stuff, so I know. And the idea is throughout the whole of November, we're going to be covering parts of Carlisle City Centre. So we're doing in front of the Old Town Hall. And we've got the Carlisle Cross, which I'm really chuffed about, because I'm wondering, what's the creative leverage? What can we do? Where can we get into? So I'm trying to expand that. We've got the lanes, and I'm in talks with the cathedral. We're hoping to get like the Border Regiment chapel, which would be beautiful. So the yarn bombing one, we're kicking off with the poppies the whole of November.
Yarn bombing is what, Steve?
It's a big knitting. It's basically people knitting stuff that you can put over structures or anything you like. It's really nice. Make the world fluffy and colourful. And this is part of a continuing yarn bombing project that I've started, because what we're going to do in the new year, we want to make spring and summer flowers, and then we want to create posies and all sort of stuff and put them around the town for people to take, or just to decorate the city. And it'll be part of when, because obviously Carlisle's sort of a building site at the moment. But when it reopens in July, we're going to have lots of street art out of there and stuff like that. The yarn bombing is going to be part of that. Next year, we're already planning to do Castle Street and the whole of the Cathedral Precinct as well. So that's the yarn bombing. Linked with that, I've got a thing called the Uptown Gallery. I don't know whether they'll keep that name, but I like that name. And so the idea where the building work's going on in the city centre, we've got about 100 fences that we're going to print out local art. So local photography or representations of any image at all, really. I'm in a bit of a wrangle because I'm a bit for art's sake. Let people decide what image. But then there's a bit about, let's tell Cumberland's story. Well, I think we do naturally through the art that will be given. So that gallery will be going up in the city centre December the 1st, right through until July. So basically, we'll have lots of big images printed out that can be outdoors. And already I'm thinking, what do we do after that? Let's keep it going, because we've got some lovely street art in Carlisle. And what I want to do bit by bit is deliberately just add little bits and just create where we can open up a spectacular and sort of have a yarn bombing and a sort of cultural weekend. So that's the Uptown Gallery. And just to say as well, if anybody would like to put an image into that, all I'm after is a high resolution JPEG. And if I could get it in the next couple of weeks, I can at least send that to the printers. I don't know how many images I'm going to get made, but I'm just going to fire as many in as I can.
So the images, if people want to submit stuff, Steve, can it be anything? Does that be Cumberland or Carlisle focused? Or?
I mean, obviously I've gone for Carlisle because you're on Carlisle, but I think representing the broad, the breadth of Cumberland would be really, really nice. And then it links into how do we now link in with the West as well? And do we join up with that? And what do we develop? All of these things, I hope, are a start for 10 that we can develop, and build on. So the gallery idea is, and using little bits of street, of course, we've got the blank wall assassin stuff, which is beautiful. But I really want to get into it. I work with a couple of people who do mosaics, and you know how you put them in like the crow's feet in the pavement where the natural cracks are, little bits of mosaicing, and I want to create a creative trail right through Carlisle. So that's ongoing. That would lead us into Bits Park. Now, I'm talking to a number of
For the people that
partners
don't
now
know
about.
Bits Park, Steve, on the call, people that don't know Carlisle or Bits Park, just explain Bits Park.
So Bits Park is a beautiful it's a big lung of the city, really. It's a lovely green space right beside the castle. It sits beautifully between the River Eden and Carlisle Castle. And we've even got Carlisle United coming at the sheep mount there. So we've got big community area, and it's beautiful. But I'd like us to deliberately look at it from a creative kind of community garden point of view, because already we've got so much there. It used to be the city's allotment. So it used to be the old sorceries. Now, I'd like to grow a bit of stuff in there. I'd like nature things happen, forest school things happening. Let's go in and let's build ourselves some dens. Let's build some shelter. Let's have projects that naturally happen. So working with sports, creativity, nature, small pieces of construction. What can we do in that space? And I'm working with Carlisle College at the moment. We've put a proposal in. It's an active proposal to the council about using the Bits Park Lodge, going in with all their construction students, and they gain their, it's learning for real, working for real within the city. They go in and they redo the building. They develop it. They turn it into their own hospitality training.
Because the Bits Park Lodge is a sort of what looks like a sort of isolated townhouse in the middle of the park, isn't it? Which has been empty for many, many decades, probably. Is that right?
Yes, and it has, and it's beautiful, and now I appreciate, because when the bottom fell out of money, local authorities are like, oh, what do we do? What do we do now? I think we've got a beautiful opportunity here to engage on so many levels, creating an opportunity for students and apprentices to go out and creatively work their thing, whether it's construction or art, in the city, in the area, in the community. And maybe that helps us retain those people as well. So the idea is, and the proposal is in now, but I know that we have to be fair, we have to look at everything. But the proposal is they go in and they turn it into a public cafe, a bit like Cakes and Ale sort of feel. So you get a drink if you want, but you get a nice scone and a cup of tea. And a local art gallery. I'd like to bring back what I used to have at the old fire station, where we had a locally driven, locally led and ran art gallery. So that's what we want. Now, if we get that, I've got my eye on other places in the city centre. Sorry, I'm rambling on, and it'll all hopefully make sense one day. Because what my ambition is, I want to have a creative space in the middle of Carlisle that's run by artists, but behind that you've got social services, you've got community services, you've got mental health services, but the attraction is going in through art. So just to start that again, I'm building up towards, for want of a better word, a drop-in or a hub for the community to be able to access 24 hours a day. So get into those lonely hours, but we use art and creativity as the way to invite people in or be that link in. But then we have lots of different creative community engagement. So I am rambling now. So that's an ongoing piece of work that's going to need an awful lot of thought, and I'd love to engage with anyone. Part of Bits Park, I've adopted the hospice garden, and we're going to look at how do we do more with that, like creative furniture in there, mosaicing in there, maybe what else do we do? And that becomes part of this idea of, if we get the lodge and we get Bits Park, what else do we do? Which brings in Hardwick Circus, which is a massive area, gateway into Carlisle, sits near the Sand Centre. And there's an area there, because it's not safe to let the public near water anymore. We can't have a fountain. And so I think there's an opportunity for us to have, could that be our space to have our small angel of the north type of thing? Let's have an art installation that as you come into the city, it's just there. Yeah, I don't know what that is yet, but we've got a space right in the middle of the city that's really, really visible, that's just sitting like an empty ashtray at the moment. What can we put in it? So there's massive areas, and I want to see how we can creatively get on board with planning, get on board with shaping, but from a creative, artistic point of view.
And do you think you've got support for these ideas, Steve, from others? And particularly people who've perhaps got access to money?
Yeah, well, what's interesting, the 24/7 creative community kind of dropping, whatever you want to call it, which I'm already in talks with people. We're actually looking at a premises, which I already know will be too small. I'll go on to that in a minute. The police have basically said they want to come in with us because they want to be back in the city centre. Because since the floods, the police have been out of the city centre, and there's all sorts of things that aren't good with that. So they want to be there. So they've said if I could open this building, they would want to be there 24/7. Doing an inquiry desk, because the idea would be all of the public can come in so far, then you're invited in to the next bit, and then there's a more sensitive bit behind that. But the police coming in is huge. So the crime commission is very, very up for this. So they're talking about it. The NHS on the mental health side, they're very keen and want to come in with us. They're already working with us at Botcherby every Wednesday. We started a session about 6 months ago for 2 hours. And this is where we've been doing the yarn bombing and growing like different things. We're now doing that. That's all day, 10 till 3:30 every Wednesday now. It's a drop-in where you can come for a cup of tea. You can come and make a poppy. You can come and join in for other events and get on board with this idea of just generating, getting people together through creativity. Then we get to the issues after that, if you know what I mean. Because I've been in community engagement for about 30 years now, and it's never been so bad. And local authorities, we're feckless at the moment. We're not, I don't know, we're scared to move. Money's run out. So for me, the currency is creativity. It's like, what is our leverage, and how do we do that as a cultural sort of group? So on every level, I'm just working at trying to work with partners. Like that, the police and the NHS often aren't very creative, but there's people within all of those organisations who are.
Yeah.
And what I'm finding, I'm talking to people like who work for Mind, stuff like that, and they're like, yeah, if we can get this platform going, we'll serve into this. And there's a load of ideas behind it.
Right.
I want to set up a community record label. There's all sorts of just platforms where you can play for real.
Yeah. Well, Amy's put your contact into chat, so anyone who wants to drop Steve a line, please do so. Amanda asks, Steve, are you focusing on the community of Carlisle City, or is your remit wider to East Cumbrian communities as well?
I mean, to be honest, I keep recognising Cumbria, so it's for Cumbria, and it's for where I want to develop models that could go anywhere. So obviously, my interest and links to Carlisle, but then from my job point, it's Cumberland, but it's Cumbria for me.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Has anybody got some lovely examples from yarn bombing that Amy's put into? I saw a bit of this actually in Elveston. There was a bit of yarn stuff in Elveston that I noticed.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, Phil says there's a real need in Carlisle for these kind of opportunities and investment in creativity for all. I mean, Phil, you're right with the speakeasies and the poetry sessions that you regularly run, have done for many years in Carlisle. Is this a community that you recognise?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talented people in Carlisle, and Stephen knows that we've had chats about these ideas for this last year or so. And yeah, as I just said in the comment, it's having that investment and opportunity for a lot of young people and other creative people in and around Carlisle. Sometimes you feel like you're left to your own devices, and to have these dedicated spaces and activities going on that Stephen's put in place and his team, that can all be for the good, and to hopefully build on that. And then the idea of a hub and other spaces, I think that's great for Carlisle.
Yeah. Colin, can I ask you, because obviously you're not a councillor anymore, but you're Mr. Carlisle in so many other ways, in my head anyway. Is there an appetite for this sort of thing, do you think?
Yes, I think there is. I mean, there's lots of people doing some amazing things, but sometimes it feels that they're not connected up.
Yeah.
And with the work that Stephen's doing and others are doing, it gives an opportunity to start to bring those people together, and you have that peer support. So, there are so many opportunities out there, and unsung heroes doing some great things. And I think by joining them up in this creative way, it just means that people can actually achieve their dreams in terms of creativity in the city and more widely.
Yeah. And now we're into second. We'll draw this conversation to a close shortly, but now we're into the second year of the local government reorganisation in Cumbria. That's taken. I can see Stephen. You just gave a big sigh. it's taken Westmoreland Furnace and Cumberland have had to just sort of shake themselves down and sort themselves out at the same time as, having bugger all money from central government coming their way, etc., etc. So these are not easy times to do, but it feels like after a year of perhaps reorganization and taking a breath and people shuffling around in jobs, now's maybe the moment to start thinking bigger.
It's really shook the carpet up, because it would be so easy to come in and do nothing because people are so risk averse, and that whole idea of vision and where things are going. But what it's meant is that certain people have just stepped up, and it's like, right. And it's those people I'm engaging with who are rising up through a creative way and just a real will. There's because we've got a real sense of being a bit shafted at this end, to be honest with you, speaking out of turn. And for me, that the opportunity is then, how do we stand back up? How do we get back, and really start working? So for me, it just puts a real rocket in our trousers.
All right, well, may that rocket in your trousers explode into life in an Elon Musk impressive way. And I hope you get some, I hope some of these things make progress and you can come back and tell us all about them, Steve, and good luck with it. And thank you for all your energy and vitality that you put into it all as well as having probably the best array of t-shirts and shirts that I know of anyone on this planet. Right. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Stephen Dunn. It's now 10:15. So for the last sort of 10 or 15 minutes or so, sit back and enjoy thinking about the science, the art, the craft of sewing and how you can do beautiful things, especially when you get the time and place and peace to do it. Izzy Butcher, based in Yorkshire, I think. Is that right, Izzy?
Yeah, based in Sheffield, yeah.
Yeah, is going to tell us her story and how it's coming to Cumbria. So Amy will get your slides up, Izzy, for you. And the floor is yours to tell us all about what you're doing. Over to you.
Oh, thank you, Tom. And thank you, everyone, for having me today. Yeah, sure, Amy, if you want to pop those slides up on the screen. I thought it was easier today just to sort of have something on the screen that you could look at, because what we do is it's very creative, but obviously it's very visual as well. It's all about sewing and creating, your own clothes. So, yeah, thank you, Tom. Thank you for having me. It's obvious last week when I joined the call that it's a very welcoming and enthusiastic, creative community you've got here. So it's fantastic to be able to share a little bit about what we're doing. So I run a sewing business along with my husband. We're there on the screen in front of you. And, we've always been very keen in textiles. It's always had a good, strong thread running through our history together. And we set up the business about 5 years ago. So what I'd love to do today is just to talk a little bit about our family heritage, what we do as a business, why people actually design and sew their own clothes. I think that's often, a big question. And also then the creative journey in sewing your own clothes. And then I'd like to wrap up just by telling you about our really exciting brand new sewing retreats in the Lake District, which the first one is in 2 weeks' time. So we're really excited about that. Great. So Amy, if you could just pop onto the next slide, please, that'd be great. So to start off with, I really enjoyed last week listening to Lewis's life story, and I thought it was really helpful just to share a little bit about our history as well. So on both sides of my family, they have a heritage of working with fabrics. My great-grandfather owned a mill in Home Firth where they actually did the weaving of the fabric, designed, the patterns that went on the fabric, and then created it. And these are pictures of his mill from our sort of family record books. And then on the other side, my great-grandpa had a tailoring business, which is still running today, actually. It's Brook Taverners. And so that sort of historical thread of, working and flowing with fabric has always sort of been in our heritage. And it's fantastic to be able to grow this business today in a very different way, but kind of drawing on that theme from the past. So if we move on to the next slide. So I actually, a little bit about me. I grew up in Nepal when I was a child. It's a little picture of me and my mum. And we grew up in the foothills of the Himalayas. So realistically, there wasn't really that many shops around. If we wanted new clothes, they were either sort of pass-me-downs or we made them ourselves, or we got the local tailor to make our own clothes. So I grew up thinking it's really normal to sew your own clothes. apparently not so much anymore. But yeah, so I've always sewn my own clothes. I've always had that ability and always seen that as something which is just completely accessible. My mum taught me how to sew, and I've continued just to sew, as my life's progressed. I actually went to uni and studied landscape architecture, so really interested to hear, Charlie's background in architecture as well, and how those sorts of design principles of designing in 2D, sketching your ideas out on paper, can then be realized in 3D. And that sort of training in terms of design worked really well for me in terms of transitioning from being a landscape architect into owning this business, designing clothes and becoming a pattern designer, a pattern cutter. So I sort of did that transition a few years ago, going to Nottingham-Trent Uni and also Central St Martin's as well, just to learn more about pattern cutting and that creative journey. So next slide, please. So that just leads me on then to what we do today. So we have a business in Sheffield where we teach people how to sew their own clothes. And we do that in so many ways and it's really fun. So we do in-person events where, we teach group classes how to sew a pair of jeans or how to sew a coat or how to actually pattern draft themselves so they can design their own clothes. One of the things we really love doing here in Sheffield is the social sewing days, where we hire out a church hall and we have like 30 ladies all come along with their sewing machines and sew whatever they want. There's loads of chatter. There's lots of sort of strong community building within that sort of creative area of people sewing their own clothes. And it's a real joy to engage with the community in that way too. So we do lots of events. We also do retreats, and we've been running sewing retreats for the last 2 years in a Sheffield location, and I'll talk a little bit more about those in a couple of minutes. I also run an online free pattern drafting course, which has been going on for over a year. So we film and edit those videos and upload them for a large fabric company. So they're available on YouTube to watch. And then the business also has digital sewing patterns and paper sewing patterns that we design and release out into the world. So you can find those on our website if you're interested in the patterns that we've been designing. And they're all size inclusive and very varied and really different. So yeah, great. So next slide. So I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about why do people sew their own clothes? What are the benefits? And then a little bit about what the sewing process is as well. And then we'll drop into the retreats. So if we move on to the next slide, there are so many different reasons why people sew their own clothes. And it is a joy to see the variety in the people, the community that we've been building up here in this area. I think art is about expressing yourself often or about expressing a concept. And I often think the way that the clothes that we wear and the style that we choose very strongly expresses who we are as people. And I think sometimes it's quite hard to express who you are in what you're wearing through something that someone else has designed in a shop, popped it on a rail and told you to buy. So I think it's I think a lot of people sew their own clothes in order to express their own individuality. And that's really important to a lot of the people that come to our events. But also joined in with that, I'm sure everyone can probably relate to this, that it's quite hard to find things that are in your style, that fit you well. We all have different body shapes, that's completely normal, that are in colours that you like. And also potentially, that are sustainably sourced. It's quite hard to find those in garments. So a lot of people sew their own clothes for those reasons too. But I think fundamentally, one thread that just flows through all the conversations we have about people sewing their own clothes is that well-being aspect of doing a task that is enjoyable, that takes a lot of focus, so it takes your mind off of the worries of life, and you can just really sit down and process and create something very beautiful that's completely bespoke. So let's move on to the next slide. So how do you actually, design your own clothes? How do you start that process? Well, I guess it's very similar to any design process, and people on the call today, you'll all be familiar with that process. So, you start off by thinking as a designer, what style do I want? What's the purpose? What's the form and the function of the garment I'm going to be making? What type of fabric, what texture, what weight, what drape, what patterns? Is there a gap in my wardrobe right now that I need to fulfill? Is there a need and a purpose, or is this just a joyous project that I just want to, absolutely love sewing? And also in that process of designing your own clothes, there's the toiling process, which is where you make renditions and you give it a go and you try something, and that's to end up with the end result. There's often a journey and a process that you get to, similar to, I guess, if you're writing a poem, you're getting the words in the right place and figuring out things and how they sit together, or fine art, making a sculpture, you'll do some trials, you'll do some models first, and it's the same with sewing. So let's move on to the next slide. So once you've decided the pattern that you're going to choose, and this is one of our sewing patterns, this is the Rydal jumpsuit named after the Rydal Caves, which we absolutely love. You've got different options as well within that. So the creative journey of what am I actually going to sew and what do I want it to look like continues even once you've got your pattern that you're going to make. You've got lots of different options. And if we move on to the next slide, we've got some beautiful models here who are all modeling that pattern you just saw on the previous slide. And I think you'll agree that they all look fabulous and they all look very different. And that's simply because the pattern is so versatile, but they've picked different types of fabric, different types of drape, different types of patterns, and they all just look absolutely wonderful, and it really celebrates their uniqueness in how they've chosen to make that garment. So if we move on to the next slide. I hope that's been a bit of a whistle-stop tour, but really helpful just to sort of understand where we're at and why we do sewing retreats. So we absolutely love hosting sewing retreats. As I said, we've been doing them in Sheffield for the last 2 years and they're really popular. But we've recently just launched 2 brand new sewing retreat locations, one in the Peak District and one in the Lake District. And if we move on to the next slide, there are a couple of images here, and I hope that sort of captures the essence of what the retreats look like. So we invite people to come and spend a weekend with myself and a colleague. We invite them to bring their own sewing projects, things that they've curated, if their own fabric, their own patterns, and we will just support the sewing journey of each individual throughout the weekend of the retreat. So there will be a multitude of different types of projects on the tables, a lot of creativity going on there, and we just enable and support and facilitate the process. So that can be encouraging creative decisions and helping people on that journey, or it can be technically how to sew a zip or how to sew a button onto a garment. And on the retreats, it's an all-inclusive package. So it's, stay overnight, build community, spend time engaging with people, chatting about your love of sewing and sharing ideas. And yeah, it is all-inclusive. So it's a fantastic way of just meeting other people and growing in your creative ability as well. So it's all inclusive. It's welcome to beginners through to complete advanced. All abilities are welcome. And yeah, we're really excited to be launching these new ones up in the Lake District. So if we move on to the next slide. We'd just love to share that we have a couple of dates. We've got 4 dates within the next year. Our first retreat is in 2 weeks and we only have 1 place left, which is fantastic. So it's obviously an event that's been really welcomed by the community. And we're absolutely delighted to be, hosting these events in such a beautiful setting, which is going to create a really mindful context as we engage with these retreats. So yeah, that's it really. I hope that's been helpful. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask. Oh, and those are all our details on the screen.
Thanks, Izzy. That's great. It's really interesting to hear your backstory as well, and that your grandparent, I think it was, you said, and what they used to do, and how you congratulations on making a business out of this as well. I think it's not easy to do these things, and be fascinating to see. Great to hear it's almost sold out for November.
Yeah.
Whereabouts in the Lake District is it?
Oh, it's in Glenridding, which is on the shores of Elswater.
Yeah, we all know where that
Staying
is.
in the 4-star hotel in on the lake, which is beautiful. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, as someone who's been on a couple of poetry retreats in my time, just having the time and space to and be with like-minded souls as well, where you don't have to explain everything. Everyone understands what you're talking about. Just having the time and space to do this sort of thing is part of the charm and the networking as well. So I can see how it, and probably the food's very nice as well. You know, all that kind of stuff matters too. But great, thank you for sharing that with us. And it was great to come across you. And no doubt we'll stay in touch. And I suspect that'll be a great success for you crossing the Lake District and the Peak District as well. So thank you very much, Izzy. It's been nice. Just checking chat, scrolling across there. Phil's putting some stuff about the Unity Festival. Thank you, Phil. I just wanted to mention about the big meet, 21st of November. Stick it in your diary. It's going to be at the University of Cumbria in Carlisle. Lots to go at. Basically, we're focusing on how can we help young people to build a creative career in Cumbria. So putting that together right now as we speak. And it's going to be a really good session. And in the afternoon, there's going to be stuff that the university does as well to help young people meet those that are working in the arts and culture sector already. So lots on there. That link will take you to the Eventbrite invitation, which tells you lots more about it there. But please just stick your name down for the moment. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. If you want to donate towards the cost of the food, that's great. But it's a real good networking chance as well, 21st of November. I think we're done. Thank you so much to Izzy for telling us her story, to Steve for telling us his many stories, and to Charlie and Nick, who are already gallivanting through Cumbria to get to the Sill in time for 12 o'clock. I just wanted to bookend this call with a Smiths reference. So Steve's got a great Smiths t-shirt on there. We won't all be into the Smiths. I'm into the Smiths. This evening on BBC 4, there's a full coverage of their famous gig they did at the University of Derby, I think it was, on BBC 4. So if you like the Smiths, they're on telly tonight as well. Thank you, everybody. Next week, we're going to hear from Emma Porter, the wonderful Emma Porter, who runs many, many things for Story Construction. She also runs the Rebuild site in Carlisle, and also it's just opened in Workington. A real chance to find out about things that we can gain from recycling, particularly building material that is useful for all sorts of props and artistic endeavors. So I suggest you tune in for that, if nothing else. And also we're going to hear from Neil Emery, who's a filmmaker, who's made a documentary film about the Cumbrian artist Dorothy Ramsay that a lot of people here will know about. Dorothy might also join the call, but that's showing at the Alhambra in Keswick in a couple of weeks' time. So we're going to see an excerpt from that film, and Neil's going to tell us why he has got so interested in Dorothy Ramsay and what she can bring to our conversations about arts and culture here in Cumbria. It's 10:31. I'm 1 minute over. Thanks, everybody. Lovely to see you. Have a great weekend. Catch you next time.